Hey there, welcome back to Story Slices, where we slice through the best Reddit tales just for you. Let's dive right into the first story. The first one is the Tittle story, and it starts like this. I never thought I'd be in a situation where I'd have to defend my right to use my own backyard pool, but life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them. My name's Mike, and this is the story of how an overzealous homeowner association president tried to ban me from enjoying my own property, and how it spectacularly backfired on her. It all started on a sweltering July afternoon. I had just moved into my new house a couple of weeks ago and was still getting settled in. The previous owners had left behind a gorgeous in-ground pool, which was one of the main selling points for me. After a long day of unpacking boxes, I decided to take a refreshing dip to cool off. I had barely gotten in the water when I heard an angry voice shouting from the other side of my fence. Hey you, what do you think you're doing?" Confused, I swam over to the edge of the pool to see what was going on. A middle-aged woman with a severe blonde bob was glaring at me over the fence, her arms crossed. I'm swimming?" I replied, not sure why this seemed to be an issue. The woman's scowl deepened. "Pool usage hours are between 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. only. It's nearly 8:30. You need to get out immediately." I blinked at her, baffled. "Excuse me? This is my private pool on my property. I can use it whenever I want." "Young man, I don't know who you think you are, but I'm Karen Johnson, president of the Sunnyside Estates Homeowners Association, and you are in clear violation of our pool usage rules." So this was the infamous homeowner association president I'd been warned about by my realtor. She had quite the reputation in the neighborhood for being a stickler for rules and causing trouble. But there was just one little problem with her attempt to enforce homeowner association rules on me. "Ma'am, I think there's been a misunderstanding. My house isn't part of the homeowner association. I'm not a member." Karen's eyes narrowed suspiciously. "Don't be ridiculous. All the houses in this neighborhood are part of the homeowner association." I shook my head. "Not mine? It was built before the homeowner association was established and the previous owners never joined. I made sure to confirm that before I bought the place." "Impossible," Karen sputtered. "I know every home in this neighborhood, and they're all homeowner association members. You must be mistaken." "I can assure you I'm not," I said firmly. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I'd like to get back to enjoying my pool in peace." I turned away, assuming that would be the end of it. How wrong I was. "Don't you dare ignore me," Karen shrieked. "I'm calling the police to report your rules violation." I spun back around, stunned. "Are you serious? You're going to call the cops because I'm swimming in my own pool?" "You bet I am. We'll see how smug you are when you're getting a citation for disturbing the peace." With that, she stormed off, leaving me floating in disbelief. Surely she wouldn't actually call the police over something so ridiculous, right? Wrong? About 15 minutes later, I heard the unmistakable sound of a police siren approaching. I quickly got out of the pool and threw on a t-shirt just as a patrol car pulled up in front of my house. 2 officers got out and made their way to my front door. I met them on the porch, doing my best to stay calm despite my rising irritation at the situation. "Good evening, officers," I greeted them politely. "What seems to be the problem?" The older of the two, a grizzled sergeant with graying hair, spoke first. "We received a call about a disturbance at this address. Something about unauthorized pool usage after hours?" I couldn't help but let out an exasperated sigh. "Let me guess, Karen Johnson called you?" The younger officer nodded. "Yes, sir. The homeowner association president reported a resident violating pool rules." "Well, officers, I hate to tell you this, but you've been called out here on a false report," I explained. "My house isn't part of the homeowner association. I'm not subject to their rules, and I have every right to use my private pool whenever I want." The sergeant raised an eyebrow. "Is that so? Do you have any documentation to back that up?" "Of course," I replied. "If you'll give me just a moment, I can get the paperwork from inside." I quickly retrieved the folder containing all my home purchase documents and brought it back out to show the officers. They carefully looked over the relevant sections, confirming that my property was not part of the homeowner association. "Well, everything seems to be in order here," the sergeant said. "Looks like there was some confusion on the caller's part." Just then, a shrill voice rang out from next door. "Officers? Over here?" Karen came marching across her lawn towards us, a triumphant look on her face. "I'm so glad you're here. This man has been flagrantly violating our homeowner association rules and disturbing the neighborhood. I want him cited immediately." The sergeant turned to address her. "Ma'am, we've reviewed the situation and there doesn't appear to be any violation here. This residence is not part of your homeowner association." Karen's jaw dropped. That's not possible. Every home here is in the homeowner association." "Not this one," the younger officer chimed in. "The owner has provided documentation showing it's exempt." "Let me see that," Karen demanded, trying to snatch the papers from the officer's hands. He deftly moved them out of her reach. "Ma'am, please calm down," the sergeant said sternly. "These are private documents we're not at liberty to share. The bottom line is, this homeowner is not violating any laws or enforceable rules by using his own pool." Karen's face was turning an alarming shade of red. "This is outrageous. He can't just do whatever he wants. What about our property values? Our community standards?" I decided it was time for me to speak up. Karen, I understand you're used to having control over the neighborhood, but the simple fact is, I'm not in your homeowner association, and you have zero authority over my property. I'd appreciate it if you'd stop harassing me and leave me in peace. Harassing you? She screeched. I'm trying to maintain order around here. Unlike you, I actually care about this community. The sergeant held up a hand. All right, that's enough. Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to return to your property and cease bothering your neighbor. If you continue, you could be charged with harassment. Karen's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Finally, she spun on her heel and stomped back to her house, slamming the door behind her. The sergeant turned back to me with an apologetic look. Sorry about all this, sir. You're well within your rights to use your pool as you see fit. Don't hesitate to call us if she gives you any more trouble. I thanked the officers and saw them off, feeling relieved but also uneasy. Something told me this wasn't the last I'd be seeing of Karen Johnson. My suspicions were confirmed the very next day. I was working from home and had just sat down at my desk when I heard an almighty crash from the backyard. I raced outside to find Karen and two men in landscaping uniforms standing by my pool. One of the men was holding a chainsaw, which he had apparently just used to cut down the large shade tree next to the pool. What the hell is going on here? I shouted, rushing over to them. Karen smirked at me. Oh, didn't you get the notice? The Homeowner Association Board voted to remove all non-regulation trees from properties backing up to the golf course. We're just carrying out the approved landscaping plan. I gaped at her in disbelief. Karen, we went over this yesterday. I'm not in the Homeowner Association. You have absolutely no right to be on my property, let alone cutting down my trees. The two landscapers exchanged uncertain glances. Ma'am, one of them said hesitantly, you assured us you had approval from all the homeowners for this work. Of course I do, Karen snapped. This troublemaker is just confused about the rules. Carry on with your work. Don't you dare touch another thing on my property, I warned them. I'm calling the police right now to report this trespassing and vandalism. That sent the landscapers packing pretty quickly. They apologized profusely as they gathered their equipment and beat a hasty retreat. Karen, however, stood her ground. You're making a big mistake, she hissed. I tried to be reasonable, but you've left me no choice. The Homeowner Association will be taking legal action to force you to comply with our regulations. I hope you're prepared for a lengthy and expensive court battle. With that parting threat, she finally left. I stood there seething, staring at the remains of my beautiful old oak tree scattered across the lawn. This had gone way too far. It was time to fight back. My first call was to the police to file a report about the trespassing and property damage. Then I contacted my homeowner's insurance about the tree. Finally, I reached out to a lawyer friend for advice on how to handle Karen and her threats of legal action. The next few weeks were tense. True to her word, Karen had the Homeowner Association send me an official letter demanding I join the association and comply with all their rules and regulations. My lawyer responded with a firmly worded cease and desist letter, warning that any further harassment or attempts to enforce Homeowner Association rules on my exempt property would result in legal action. Things quieted down for a bit after that, but I remained on high alert. I installed security cameras around the property and made sure to document every interaction with Karen, just in case. The next salvo in Karen's campaign came about a month later. I arrived home from work one evening to find a giant eyesore of a sign planted in my front yard. Notice, this property is in violation of Homeowner Association standards. Homeowner has 30 days to rectify all issues or face fines and legal action. I'm not proud to admit it, but I lost my cool. I stormed over to Karen's house and pounded on the door until she answered. Remove that sign from my lawn immediately, I demanded through gritted teeth. Karen gave me a sickeningly sweet smile. I'm afraid I can't do that. That sign was approved by the Homeowner Association Board as a way to publicly shame rule breakers into compliance. If you don't like it, you're welcome to bring your property up to our standards. For the last time, I am not in your homeowner association, I shouted, my patience completely gone. You have no authority over me or my property. Take down that slanderous sign or I swear I will sue you for defamation. Empty threats, Karen scoffed. You can't afford to take on the Homeowner Association's legal team. Face it, you're going to lose this fight eventually. Why not give in now and save yourself the trouble? I leaned in close, my voice low and intense. Karen, listen to me very carefully. I have been beyond patient with your delusions of grandeur, but you've now damaged my property, trespassed repeatedly, and publicly defamed me. My lawyer will be contacting you shortly with a lawsuit for harassment and defamation. I strongly suggest you remove that sign and cease all contact with me if you don't want this to get even uglier. With that, I spun around and headed back to my house, my hands shaking with anger. I immediately called my lawyer and got the ball rolling on the lawsuit. Enough was enough. It was time to put an end to Karen's reign of terror once and for all. The legal process ground slowly forward over the next several months. Karen, predictably, contested the lawsuit and countersued to try to force me to join the Homeowner Association. It was stressful and expensive, but I was determined to see it through. Meanwhile, Karen's harassment campaign continued unabated. She left nasty notes on my door. She convinced other neighbors to give me the cold shoulder. She even tried to get my car towed, claiming it was parked illegally. It wasn't. The worst incident came right before our first major court date. I woke up one morning to find my entire yard had been torn up overnight. The grass was ripped out, flower beds destroyed, and someone had spray-painted homeowner association rule breaker in giant letters across my driveway. I was devastated. Months of hard work on my landscaping, ruined in a single night of senseless vandalism. As I stood surveying the damage, Karen sauntered over, a look of fake concern on her face. "Oh my, what happened here?" she asked innocently. "You really should invest in better security. I'd hate to see your homeowner's insurance premiums go up because of repeated incidents like this." "I saw red. You did this," I snarled. "I know it was you, Karen." She gasped dramatically, placing a hand over her heart. "I'm shocked you would accuse me of such a thing. I'm just a concerned neighbor, worried about declining property values due to your unkempt yard. But don't worry, I'm sure if you join the homeowner association, we can help you get this cleaned up in no time." I didn't dignify that with a response. I simply turned my back on her and went inside to call the police. They came out to take a report, but without clear evidence linking Karen to the vandalism, there wasn't much they could do. The court date finally arrived a week later. I was nervous but determined as I entered the courthouse with my lawyer. Karen swanned in with the homeowner association's legal team, looking smug and confident. The judge listened patiently as both sides presented their cases. My lawyer laid out the evidence of Karen's ongoing harassment campaign, the property damage, and the homeowner association's repeated attempts to enforce rules on a non-member property. Karen's team argued that I was disrupting the community by refusing to join the homeowner association and comply with neighborhood standards. After several hours of testimony and arguments, the judge called a brief recess to review all the evidence. When he returned, he didn't mince words. "I've seen a lot of petty neighborhood disputes in my time," he began, "but this case takes the cake. Mrs. Johnson, your actions towards your neighbor have been egregious and completely unacceptable. This court finds in favor of the plaintiff on all counts." I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Karen's face turned an alarming shade of purple. The judge continued, "The homeowner association is hereby ordered to cease all attempts to enforce their rules on the plaintiff's property. Mrs. Johnson, you are to have no further contact with your neighbor. A restraining order will be issued to that effect. Furthermore, you are personally liable for $50,000 in damages for harassment, defamation, and property damage." Karen leapt to her feet. "This is an outrage. You can't do this." "I assure you, I can," the judge replied sternly. "And if you continue to disrupt my courtroom, I'll hold you in contempt. Now sit down." Karen's lawyer tugged her back into her seat, whispering furiously in her ear. I caught phrases like appeal and settle out of court. The judge had one final bombshell to drop. "Given the serious nature of Mrs. Johnson's actions, I am also referring this case to the district attorney's office for potential criminal charges. This court is adjourned." He banged his gavel and swept out of the courtroom. I sat there in shock for a moment, hardly daring to believe it was finally over. My lawyer clapped me on the shoulder. "Congratulations," he said with a grin. "That went even better than we hoped. Want to grab a celebratory drink?" I nodded numbly, still processing everything that had just happened. As we gathered our things to leave, I caught Karen's eye across the courtroom. If looks could kill, I'd have dropped dead on the spot. The aftermath of the court case was swift and far-reaching. Karen resigned as homeowner association president the very next day. Several other board members who had supported her campaign against me also stepped down. The homeowner association's insurance company, facing a massive payout for Karen's actions, decided to sue her personally to recoup their losses. Last I heard, she was facing bankruptcy and might lose her house. Criminal charges were indeed filed, though Karen ultimately took a plea deal to avoid jail time. She ended up with hefty fines and community service instead. As for me, I used the settlement money to repair all the damage to my property and then some. I put in an even bigger pool, added a hot tub, and landscaped the yard beautifully. Every time I float in that pool on a lazy summer afternoon, I think about Karen and smile. The new homeowner association board reached out to formally apologize and assure me they would respect my property's exempt status going forward. They even offered me a chance to join the homeowner association voluntarily, which I politely declined. Karen moved away shortly after everything was settled. I hear she's now living in an apartment with no yard, and more importantly, no homeowner association to lord over. Life in the neighborhood is peaceful these days. My new neighbors are friendly and respectful. We have block parties and cookouts without any ridiculous rules or restrictions. Sometimes I wonder if I should feel bad about how things turned out for Karen. Her life was effectively ruined by her misguided crusade against me. But then I remember all the stress and hassle she put me through, the thousands of dollars in property damage, the sleepless nights worrying about what she'd do next, and I realized that in the end, she brought it all on herself. The moral of the story? Never underestimate the determination of a homeowner defending their right to enjoy their own property. And more importantly, Always make sure you know what you're talking about before you try to enforce rules on others. A little due diligence could have saved Karen a world of trouble. These days, I'm known in the neighborhood as the guy who took down the homeowner association tyrant. It's not a bad reputation to have. I've had more than one neighbor buy me a beer in gratitude for ending Karen's reign of terror. As for me, I'm just happy to be able to enjoy my home and my pool in peace. And every now and then when I'm feeling a bit petty, I stay out swimming until well past Karen's old curfew of 8 p.m. Because I can. And there's not a damn thing anyone can do about it. Update. It's been about a year since the dust settled on the whole homeowner association debacle, and I thought I'd give you all an update on how things have played out since then. First off, I'm happy to report that life in the neighborhood has been blissfully peaceful. The new homeowner association board has kept their word about respecting my property's exempt status. In fact, they've been so hands-off that sometimes I forget there even is an homeowner association around here. But of course, the story doesn't end there. A few interesting developments have come up that I thought you might want to hear about. Remember Karen's house that she had to sell? Well, it sat on the market for months. Turns out, her reputation had spread far and wide, and potential buyers were steering clear. The real estate agent finally managed to sell it, but at a significantly reduced price. The new owners? A lovely young couple named Alex and Jamie. They moved in about 6 months ago, and we've become pretty good friends. They often join me for barbecues by the pool, and we've had some good laughs about the absurdity of the whole Karen situation. One evening, as we were enjoying some beers by the fire pit, Alex dropped a bombshell on me. You know, he said, taking a swig of his beer, we actually got a great deal on this place because of all the drama with the previous owner. I nodded, unsurprised. Yeah, I figured the price must have come down quite a bit after everything that happened. Jamie chimed in, but here's the kicker. Our lawyer did some digging during the purchase process and guess what he found out? I raised an eyebrow, intrigued. What's that? Turns out, Karen's house wasn't actually part of the homeowner association either. I nearly choked on my beer. You're kidding me? Alex shook his head, grinning. Nope, dead serious. Apparently, when the homeowner association was first established, Karen's husband at the time opted out, just like your previous owners did. But Karen either never knew or conveniently forgot that fact when she became homeowner association president. I sat there, stunned. All that time, all that trouble, and Karen hadn't even been a legitimate member of the homeowner association she was so zealously defending. The irony was almost too much to bear. So what does this mean for you guys? I asked, once I'd recovered from my shock. Jamie smiled. Well, like you, we're not obligated to join the homeowner association. We're thinking about it, but for now, we're enjoying our freedom. I couldn't help but laugh. Karen would be rolling in her grave if she knew. Well, if she were dead, that is. Speaking of Karen, I did get some news about her a few months back. Remember that apartment she moved into after selling her house? Well, apparently she couldn't resist trying to take charge there too. She started a tenants association and began harassing the building management about every little thing. It didn't end well for her. The property management company evicted her for being a nuisance. Last I heard, she was couch surfing with relatives and struggling to find a new place to live. Her reputation seems to follow her wherever she goes. But karma wasn't done with Karen yet. Remember those criminal charges the DA was considering? Well, they decided to pursue them after all. Karen ended up pleading guilty to criminal mischief and harassment charges. She got slapped with a $10,000 fine and 200 hours of community service. The judge, in a stroke of poetic justice, ordered that her community service be performed doing landscaping work in public parks. I got a real kick out of imagining Karen, who was so obsessed with perfectly manicured lawns, now having to mow and weed for hours on end. As for me, life has been pretty sweet. The settlement money allowed me to make some awesome upgrades to my property. I extended the patio, added an outdoor kitchen, and even put in a small putting green. It's like having my own private resort in the backyard. I've also become something of a local celebrity. People in the neighborhood and even from surrounding areas often stop me to ask about the homeowner association takedown. I've been invited to speak at a few community meetings about homeowners' rights and the importance of standing up to bullies. One day, I got a call from a journalist who wanted to write an article about my experience. At first I was hesitant. I didn't want to stir up any more drama. But then I thought about how my story might help other homeowners who are being unfairly targeted by overzealous homeowner associations. So I agreed to the interview. The article came out in the local paper and then got picked up by some national news websites. Suddenly, I was getting emails and messages from people all over the country who were dealing with similar homeowner association issues. I started offering advice where I could, sharing the legal resources that had helped me, and encouraging people to stand their ground when they were in the right. It felt good to be able to help others who were in the same boat I had been in. All this attention led to an unexpected opportunity. A law firm specializing in property rights reached out to me. They were impressed with how I had handled my case and asked if I'd be interested in joining their team as a consultant. At first, I laughed it off. Me, a consultant? I'm just a regular guy who stood up for himself. But the more I thought about it, the more appealing it became. I had learned a lot through my ordeal with Karen and the homeowner association, and if I could use that knowledge to help others, why not? So now, a few days a week, I work with the law firm, advising clients who are dealing with homeowner association disputes. It's part-time, which leaves me plenty of time to enjoy my home and my freedom. And I have to admit, there's a certain satisfaction in being able to say, trust me, I've been there, when clients share their homeowner association horror stories. Life has a funny way of working out sometimes. If you had told me a year ago that Karen's crusade against me would end up improving my life in so many ways, I would have thought you were crazy. But here we are. My home is better than ever. I've made great new friends. I've got a new part-time gig that I enjoy, and I've been able to help others stand up for their rights. All because one petty, power-hungry woman couldn't stand the idea of someone using their own pool after 8 p.m. Oh, and remember that big oak tree Karen had cut down? I used some of the settlement money to plant a new one. It's still small, but it's growing strong. Every time I look at it, I'm reminded that standing up for what's right, even when it's hard, is always worth it in the end. So that's where things stand now. The neighborhood is peaceful, the new homeowner association board is reasonable, and I'm enjoying life to the fullest. Karen's reign of terror is nothing but a distant memory, a cautionary tale we sometimes laugh about over beers. To anyone out there dealing with their own homeowner association nightmares, I say this: know your rights, document everything, and don't be afraid to stand your ground. It might be a tough fight, but in the end, your home is your castle. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. As for me, I think I'll go for a late night swim. Because I can. And that's a freedom worth fighting for. Are you hungry for more slices of stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to never miss out on any videos. See you tomorrow at Story Slices.